So since we have this head tube done, just click over here. I'm going to add some tubing right here. And I know that it's going to be 1.5 inches. So I'm going to select 1.5 inch round tubing. Even though there's no bends, I'm going to select 1.5 inch round tube for the die. And I'm just going to make a straight piece. Once I click this create new straight piece, I will select whatever reference point I want to join. So I'll select this top one down to the bottom one, and it put a line in there. Now, one thing to keep in mind is this straight tool, the straight part, is still on. So if you click any one of these pick points, you're going to end up creating cross members and things like that. So if you're done making your pieces, just click a different tab, and then you're no longer going to be creating straight pieces. Now, this button up here, this window display, when you click it, it'll go from this wire frame to a 3-dimensional view. So there's the 3-dimensional view of our 1.5 inch tubing. Now we're going to start adding our bends here, our pieces that have bends in them. So we're going to count how many bends we have in each part, because it needs to know when we create this bend piece. Otherwise, it's not going to create the part you're wanting. So if we're going to create this tube that comes from the head tube to this point here and then back, we've got to add how many bends there's going to be. So there's 1, 2 bends. So we'll click bent, add a 2, hit OK, and we're going to select this point here, go to this first bend, down to the bottom, and then right to the back. And always, 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 because it will become extremely confusing once you've got your parts and pieces all built and or cut out, to know which part's what unless you name them. So we're going to call this one right side main frame and hit OK. Now we're going to do the same to the left. So we're going to hit bent, 2 bends, OK. And this will be left side main frame and hit OK. We're going to change the display, and you can see now we've got some tubing there, and it's starting to take shape like our example project that I had of bridgers. All right. Now let's do our main lower frame. Now I want this to attach around here, and what we're going to do is we need to actually create a pick point here for this tubing to attach. So you'll notice that the pick points that I generated are no longer in the center of our tubes, which is fine. But when we go to build our main lower frame, you can see that the reference point, when it's asking you select a reference point, there is a nice good feature in this where it will automatically kind of select points for you, like the center of this radius versus the bottom or start of the bend, the end of the bend. What we're going to do for our main lower frame is we're going to join it here and around to that side as well. I'll show you what I mean. So like I said before, we're going to have to count how many bends we have in this lower main frame. So we're going to go from here to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total bends. So we're going to hit bent, 6, hit OK, and pay attention to the colors as well. If we were to accidentally hit blue and then we come all the way around and over here we hit purple, our frame's not going to be even on one side. So the colors are to help keep you in line as far as where you're pulling your dimensions or your parts from. So we're going to hit here, here, skip any pick points that are across the 2 larger points, just hitting the corners here. and then back to purple. We'll call this lower main frame. Hit OK. Now, if we change the display here, we can see now we're starting to get there. We're starting to see this project come to life, right? We're starting to see our frame. All right. Now we need to add some cross members in here, some straight pieces. We'll just hit straight. And like I mentioned with the colors, we want to make sure wherever we're hitting on one side, we're going to do the same to the other. So I'm going to hit yellow to yellow, blue to blue, and let's add center cross member here, and let's add one on top. All right, change the display so we can see what we got so far. So far, it's looking pretty good. Now we've got to create our foot pegs. Now you can see that this will automatically generate one in the center of this part, which is exactly where we're going to have our foot pegs come from. So we're going to select our reference point. So we're going to work off of that pick point there. Nope, I've still got it selected straight. So I'm going to hit main and back. So now we're working on pick point. So I'm going to select this reference point, hit apply so we actually generate a pick point there. You can see now it's green. So we're going to select whatever side we're going to move forward from to make our foot pegs and go from that point. So I've got this selected in the center here. I'm going to go forward 24 inches and hit apply. Same on this side, hit apply, clear values. Now, I know just so that I've got enough room for my feet, I'm going to select these front points and I'm going to go to the right on this side. I'm going to go to the right 5 inches. That'll be enough room for my foot to sit. Hit apply, then select this side and flip it to the left and hit apply. Then clear values. One thing to keep in mind, just future-wise, when we're out in the shop generating these parts from the blueprint, when we're doing our bent pieces, whatever end you click first on your pick points, that's the start end. Now, this is somewhat maybe further down the line than we may need to talk, but the reason we may want to select here versus here is because on that die in the shop in the real world, if our part is too short here, then the die won't actually hook to this tube. It won't have enough material there to actually make the bend. So instead we would reverse that. Instead of clicking here first, we're going to click from the main frame. That way the tube is in the die in such a way that it'll still be able to make that bend because there's more than enough material in that die. I know that this may not make sense, but if you've got a short piece that you've got a small bend on, be sure that you're starting on the long end first, not the short end. So this foot peg has got just one bend in it. We're going to hit bent, okay. We're going to come from here, go forward to that point and to the right. We're going to call this one right foot peg. Hit OK. We'll do the same to the other side. So we're going to go bent, one, and call this one left foot peg. Hit OK. Now we'll change the display. And, well, those look kind of small. We probably should have went 6 inches. But for this, it's just fine. So if you remember from Bridger's example, we have a cross member here to keep support for our foot pegs. So what we're going to do is hit straight. And we're going to come off where our main or our middle cross member is. We're going to select here, and to blue, yellow to blue. Now we've got our cross members there. And this is looking, now we're ready to add our cutting wrappers. Now that we've got our main frames done here, I mean, in the shop, we may decide to add a couple of more cross members in here, which sometimes happens when we're here designing it. We don't realize what it might need in the real shop. But the nice thing is when you save this, you can pull this back up and you can create all of your new stuff from what you've drawn. Oh boy. Here's a good example of why it's important to pay attention to what you are doing tube-wise. So every one of our pieces here, no wonder this radius here wasn't the greatest. This is all built out of 1.5 inch tubing because Mr. Money is dumb. So what we're gonna do is delete these and hurry right quick and create all our new pieces with the 1 inch material. And through the wonders of video editing, I'll just get it done and you won't have to watch. All right, now that I've got the material selected correctly and I've got my 1 inch round and 3 inch die put in for our tubing, it looks like it should. Now that's also why these foot pegs looked shorter to my eye, is because the radius was larger on that other die for the 1.5 inch tubing.